think there's a Christmas tree lighting in the Taylor's.
And there's
quad
escape
over
rooms
there.
in the MC tonight.
Oh.
And you know how popular yours was last week.
So, I guess that, I could see why that would, I didn't know about the escape rooms, I only knew about, I was like, Christmas tree lighting can't be that popular. Escape rooms, maybe.
But the CSA, come on, dude.
I know,
Right.
that's my house.
Some people's children, I swear.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully we'll have some more joining us shortly. Let's get started with a prayer, and then we'll get on with some announcements and our debriefing of the competitions that have been going on. For the Gibbons, would you like to give us something prayer?
Our dear Father in heaven, we're very thankful to be gathered together to to try to improve our minds and our skills, and to learn how to use teamwork and cooperation with each other to make our lives better and make our future employment prospects improved. And we're so thankful for those that attend and belong to this association. And we're also grateful for those that have taken leadership roles. We ask you to please bless us all, that we will have the right priorities with our families and our schoolwork and our club work. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, for announcements, do we have any announcements we need to go over?
I would say we want to talk about T-shirts, but I would, if anyone wants root beer float, we should probably start going at it now before it melts
Yes.
back there.
Desserts in the
So
back.
feel free to get up and get some dessert, and then while you're getting that, I'm going to talk about T-shirts. I'll have them up on the board, so while you're not scooping, you can look. And a big shout out to Caden. Caden actually did a lot of this stuff. So we have posted on the general Slack channel this link, a link to this Google form, so that you can sign up for T-shirts. We're hoping to get them the next week or two, I'm thinking, is when. Well, hopefully, the sooner we get people's counts, then we can order them sooner than later. But yeah, so you just need to fill this out, email address, whether you want to try to pay someone in cash or through Venmo. I believe Caden's taking it upon himself to make sure it all gets purchased. So send him, I believe, the stuff, right?
Yeah, when should we mark the deadline? Like, there should probably be a deadline for.
How long do we want to give people? I would say maybe next Thursday at midnight. That way we can announce it one more time next Thursday for all the people who aren't here.
Just make
Is
sure to
that too
post it
long?
on Slack.
If you guys the presidency, I mean, I'm just doing the thing.
Well, I guess next week is going to be Thanksgiving anyways. So let's say Tuesday at midnight.
Tuesday midnight, okay.
And we'll post it on Slack and see who else can get look at.
I'll post reminders
Yeah.
every once in a while.
Think that's going to be too soon?
Tuesday at midnight?
Yeah.
I don't know. If we wait till the week after that, it'll be like a week before the semester, like a week or two before the semester ends, and then we might not get the shirts in time before the semester ends, would be my concern.
Okay.
I mean, shipping is a lot quicker nowadays than, I'm thinking like family reunions when we've ordered shirts and it takes like 2 weeks
Yeah.
to get here. Maybe it won't be that bad.
We should check on the lead time, see how long it's going to take for them to get here.
And to print them and everything.
Yeah.
I'll ask.
All right. Thanks, Caden.
But we should probably, the sooner we can let them know, the better, I would still say.
Yeah.
I will definitely, I mean, it's posted on Slack. We'll make a bigger announcement about it. Make sure people sign up. Let me show you some pictures. You can kind of see them if you scroll down here. Not too well. They're kind of small on the form. But if you go to the T-shirt channel in Slack, you have bigger pictures that you can blow up. Here's this one. We're doing it in both green and blue. So you can get it with the letters in the hacker green. Oh, I don't know why I haven't passed it. Or, yeah, hacker blue. So, if you're interested in getting one, I believe the cost is going to be from $12 to $15, whether you want the normal T-shirt material or if you want a softer cotton, it'll be like $15. And then if you need like an extra large, it might go up another $2 for something like
Yeah,
that.
for every X is, I think, another $1.
Okay.
So if you're fat, you have to pay. But it's a price worth paying.
Some of us, yeah. It's worth it for the food we get to consume.
Yes, sir.
Just remember 2 Nephi chapter 9, verse 28, that ends in, let thy soul delight in fatness.
Mine sure does. All right, so yeah, blue and green. You have a choice between them, or if you're feeling really fancy, you can actually order both. Again, prices are here. It looks like $12 for the basic and $15 for the softer cotton. And you can put down here your sizes. So yeah, make sure you fill it out by Tuesday if you are interested. They're going to be awesome. I'm wearing the one from a year ago. It's not nearly as good because they did it in a darker green, so you can't see the lettering as much. We're hoping we'll finally get it in that bright lime terminal green. So yeah, that should be all from as far as T-shirts. Other announcements? I don't know.
What do we do next week?
Next week is Thanksgiving.
So no
So
meeting
lab
next week.
night on Tuesday, if anyone wants to come and work on labs. I'll try to show up so we can work with the Arduinos. Anyone who wants to kind of go over the keystroke injectors, or I can help some people who are doing the deauthors as well. I can help kind of walk through some of that. But yeah, so that would be on Tuesday. I'll post more about that on general. It'll have to be in a different room because they have a robotics lab in here on Tuesdays. So I will look into that. But I am willing to be here for anyone who wants to do a lab night on Tuesday instead of Thursday.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, I think that's it for announcements then. So for today's meeting, we want to go over the 3 big competitions that just happened and get kind of a debriefing from each team. Most of our team members, it looks like, are probably missing. So
We have 3 people from NIATEC competition,
okay.
1 person from yours, right?
And Caden.
Oh, 2 people from CyberForce, that's right, Caden. And then Danny was the only one I saw from NCL, and he walked out.
He had to be
Oh, he's-
somewhere at 6. So
Anyone else do NCL with Danny? No? So it'll just be those 2 groups. We are due for a Google Hangout at 6 o'clock.
The Christmas day.
5
6.
minutes.
Okay. Did you want them to just be like joining us for the
Sure.
briefing, or did you have other plans for that?
I figured they could join us. I wanted to kind of let people get to know them. I was hoping to let them see how big the group's gotten.
Okay.
That won't be happening tonight.
Yeah.
And then maybe like a Q&A if anyone has questions for them, or if they have questions about what we're doing.
I'm sorry, I have an announcement.
Yes.
Is anyone looking for work? We're, the stock might be hiring in the next 6 months.
Oh, really? That's good news. Okay.
Very much like take advantage of it.
So do we just,
Just wait until next semester.
Is that going to be mostly on the job board, or can you just kind of like talk to John?
Caden,
Are we gonna be the same way we're
would you
hiring?
introduce yourself to John Blakeburn even before you apply, just so that he knows your face?
Yeah, when and how, where?
a sock
I don't know,
or
see a
business
guy
hours?
behind the desk?
Yeah, he's the old guy in there. Not Ryan, the other old guy in the sun. Much older than Ryan.
I think this is being recorded, just FYI.
Hi, Ryan.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I'd talk to him. You can also look up John Blakeburn, BYUI, and it will show his contact info.
I didn't get your phone.
Okay.
Once you email me back, I tried to double check.
I'll see what I can find out on Tuesday or the week after Thanksgiving.
Well, let's start with NIATEC then, if that's okay.
Sure.
And we'll just get started on that. So some things that I would be interested to hear from each of the teams is like what you did well. Sorry, I can't talk and write at the same time. And then things that you want to do better for next time. And of course, anything else that you want to share. But I think that talking about that will be beneficial for everyone, just so we can share ideas of what went well and how things could have gone better and stuff like that. So Hiram and whoever else was on the NIATEC team.
Spencer, do you want to talk about your team's experience first while I get these people on the call, and then I'll hop up there?
Yeah, we did really well. Like, we did overkill on all the. Oh, Jordan's not here.
You will be soon.
He does me a dance for we use PRTG, awesome asset when you go into an environment that you don't know what's out there. It's kind of like a scanning tool and diagnostics tool. So it was good to see like what was the malware on that stuff. And the thing we did poorly on was when we discovered new assets, we weren't really quick about getting updates done, turning off telnet, stuff like that, changing the password. And so we got hit on 2 Linux machines, and then they got into our Windows machine that was controlling the thing that made the weapons. What was that called again? There's an acronym for it.
Oh, HMI
Something like that.
or OMI for the org
OMI,
machine
yeah.
interface.
Work machine interface, I like that.
Did anyone get to hear what our theme was? Did anyone not hear what our theme was, I guess, is the real question. I brought a t-shirt because I was supposed to give it to Johnny, but he's not here.
Those are so cool.
It was, the theme was Lord of the Token Rings, the Return of the Ping. And what we were the security for Mount Doom Enterprises, which is a Mordor weapons manufacturing.
Yeah, so we did degrading, not degrading, but like, yeah, maybe degrading emails.
Uh-huh.
Every task.
Yeah, every task we get was some org leader telling us about how much the humans sucked and how much we're gonna eat maggoty bread and things like that. It was pretty fun.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So Spencer, you said that PRTG was good.
Yeah. Your TG is awesome. Really quick to set up. Really good scanning. You just
Okay.
are in the range, it shows what you got, shows the OS, shows the disk usage. Awesome. Bad, we didn't have like a project manager. Like I guess it was Calvin, but he was working on injects. He became more of an inject manager than a project manager. And so when it came down to doing things like updating things that we'd find through the competition, because they actually, in the middle of the competition, released some more machines. So
Oh,
things
really?
you wouldn't see at the initial scan.
Ah,
And we
okay.
found those and didn't patch them, and sure enough, they got, those were the exploits that the hackers used to get in.
Okay. So
And
it's kind
that's-
of like
and
a
I know that
project
for sure,
manager.
because I talked to the hacker afterwards.
Uh-huh.
Those are my main takeaways. I didn't think that the preparations were super useful. When it came down to it, I think what would have been more useful is if we would have actually just hypervised an environment with Linux machines and Windows machines and just practiced doing the first 30 minutes. You know,
Okay.
if we would have just drilled that, so everyone didn't have to, oh, you're the one who knows about, patching this, come do it for me. Just spending those weeks leading up to the competition, just getting the muscle memory of mastering the first 30 minutes on whatever machine you come across. Because the reality of was is like we just grabbed an IP address, whatever machine we got on, we're like, oh, this isn't working on Putty, let's try it in remote desktop. Oh, it is a Windows machine. I'm not a Windows guy, but I'm gonna try and do this anyway, and it was a little hectic.
Okay.
So practicing the first 30 minutes, I think would help us do much better and then be able to focus on the injects and rack up more points.
Okay. So would that fall into project manager then, or like an inject manager?
Just having everyone be an ace in the first 30 minutes, regardless of OS.
Oh, just so have everybody know everything, is that what you're saying?
Have everyone know everything about the first 30 minutes. I
About
think
the
if
first
we would have
30
done
minutes.
that, it would have been way better. We wouldn't have gotten hacked so quickly. Well, not so quickly. We were halfway through.
It was about halfway through. Was this a 1 day or 2 day event? I forget.
One day.
Okay.
You show up the night before, they tell you about it, and then the day of is when they actually do anything.
Okay.
So they don't tell you what operating systems you're working with?
They tell you the night before. They give
Oh.
you a little packet with
Okay.
incomplete
Well,
information.
they give
and
you a
says-
packet with 4 machines.
And then you find the other
And they're
4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
So
Hopefully they were all in the same subnet at least, so you could do like a subnet scan.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, it was a
they
duct
give
tape.
you 4 different subnets. You'd scan
Okay.
all of them, but
Or
Windows 7 machines and Linux boxes.
I didn't know how to set up something we didn't really prepare for was setting up a website.
Okay. Okay.
Which, I mean, we've used, like, for example, at least I've taken like the web class, so I know how to do like HTML editing and stuff, but I never used like a web server myself. So like working with like a WordPress server and Apache
Yeah,
server,
me too.
something like
It
that.
might be good to bring a WDD major, maybe one of these.
Okay. I'm wondering though if because they're more about the designing and less about the hosting. So I'm not sure if they'd even work with Apache and maybe WordPress, because that's pretty common, but
Did you guys have an Apache server?
I can't remember what it was that it was running on, but
You can also run WordPress on IIS if you put it on a Windows server.
yeah. So I can't remember what it was. I just remember nobody knew how to log into it and change the password.
Oh, knowing Active Directory was a big part this year.
Yeah, Active Directory was pretty big this year.
Yeah, last year it was like, delete this one person, add this one person. No, they had like rogue users in the administrator group, and you had to really look into it. So. And they had a ton more users this year. Remember last year? It was
Yeah, there were like hundreds of
16.
users in the AD.
Yeah, and this
Really?
year it was like
Wow.
hundreds.
Okay.
So it
knowing how
wasn't
to
like you
navigate
could just be
that
like, oh, this person, we don't need it, disable, because there were like hundreds. And it's like, well, we can't just disable
all of them.
hundreds of accounts.
Yeah.
I think that would kind of stop our.
We would have been okay,
business.
but thank goodness we had Ryan to actually really know what was going on.
How big was the team?
Bring
Four?
Ryan.
4 people per team, and we had 2 teams going.
Okay.
Yeah, having a Ryan or a Jordan of some kind would be really good.
Having a Michael for sure. That's what our team needed.
You know, Johnny and Rio did really well our first year.
Yeah.
Or Nathaniel. Oh, Nathaniel, just like you'd predict, he kind of just like, it's like he's not in the room, but he's there. He's just working on something. He's just getting pigeonholed. But obviously, like when it comes to networking, like he literally, without anybody saying anything to him, he plugged up all of our BIOS networking here.
Okay.
So yeah, he's awesome. The first year we got hacked on our router. So that's what he did without saying a word to anybody. It was like 2 hours and we're like, you doing okay over there? He's like, done. We're like, what's done?
We need to teach him to communicate better.
That'd probably be a good thing
He's
for
just a
next
ninja.
time, is bios. Because that's where they got us, at least it seemed. They just shut down like our main router. It was like we lost access
The
to the whole
hacker actually
environment.
mentioned, he's like, you guys really did seal up your BIOS really well, so I couldn't use
Yeah.
that. But you guys left some Linux machines open.
Okay. So BIOS was a good thing then.
Yeah. Nathaniel, bring Nathaniel.
All right. Cool. Hiram, you got anyone on over there?
Yes, we have 3 people on over here.
Sweet.
We got Jordan, Eric, and Patty.
Wait, Jordan Jenkins?
Yep, Jordan Jenkins.
Should we
Can
take
you
a
see
minute
us?
to introduce them quick?
Sure.
Jordan. I love
Alright.
you.
Let me, that's not my mouse, that's why. Trying to bring this over here because they said they can't really hear too well, and I'm pretty sure it's using my laptop's microphone. So, bringing that over here.
We need to figure out how to use our sounds to best effect for these video conferences.
Hi, guys.
Can I get those 2 emails?
Yeah.
Before the end of the night, I'll just
It's my mouse. And it looks like they have all their cameras off. They're hiding from us. Let me plug in the audio.
Put your email address there.
So we got the information
You got it the day before.
the night before, yeah.
You guys there? Does
Got
anyone
that
want to try
about
talking, see if we can hear you?
7-ish.
Okay.
And then the competition started.
Oh,
at
there went
9
Patty.
next time.
And ended.
Thank you. That was a full 8 hours.
Yeah.
Hello?
Do you usually have good luck with Google Hangouts?
I have in the past, yeah. I'm not hearing anything, but I'm wondering if that's restaurant. No, it says it's on. Let me try.
I didn't think this many people would go to the Christmas Eve thing.
Right.
Yeah, what the heck, CSA.
Well, there's also escape rooms tonight at the Manwaring Center.
Yeah, but you have to, do you get to pick locks and, break into XP boxes? I don't think so. For the massive escape room right over
It
there.
might be my sound. Nope, I can hear something, I just can't hear them. Eric, Jordan, are you talking? Oh, they popped up now.
Jordan!
I see your mouth's moving, but I don't hear you. It is not what my elven eyes see, but what my elven ears do not hear.
Click the test button. See if that'll-
No, not that one. No, not that one. Still don't hear you guys.
Jordan, if you can hear me, give a peace sign.
Oh yeah.
Hey, come here, Russ.
Eric, you look too cool to be from BYU, Idaho. How did you make that work? I mean, you can't really answer me because I can't hear you.
Where
still.
is Eric?
Where? Okay, this isn't working. Let me. I can unplug it. We can try to hear it off my speakers. Wait, but you're still talking. I still don't hear you, even on my laptop speakers. So that's not the problem. Let me see what you guys are messaging me.
Hey, I think I see something.
Change my default audio.
Check the autoplay setting at the top right of Rave. It says something's blocked.
Yeah.
Right here?
Top right,
Oh, there's no-
right there.
Always allow autoplay from
Yeah.
Hangouts. Sure. What about now? Does that work? I still don't hear anybody.
Alright, you might need to restart it.
I feel the heat after holding that next screen.
Oh, I hear something now.
That's your phone.
That's my phone? It sounded like a phone. I'm still not hearing you, Eric. Still not hearing you.
Got it. Blocking the sound script.
Communication.
Weird.
Mr.
And this is
Mr.
why
Jenkins.
I should have done this a while ago. You want me to call you, Eric? Is that what you're saying? I can't. No, don't. You want everybody to call you. Are you just gonna host a giant conference call off of your cell phone? I think he's saying yes. That's all I can read from his lips. Communications.
What state is Eric in now?
Oh, that's.
Washington.
Wyoming, obviously.
Wisconsin. That's what I'm hearing. It's still, let me try. I'm gonna try hopping off and then hopping on. See if maybe that's the problem. So you guys stay right there. Can you hear me? Hey, I can hear you.
What?
That's all it was. I just had to hop off and hop on.
That's what I said, turn off and on again.
Here I am thinking I'm about to graduate. All right.
What's your degree in?
CIT. Turning it off and turning it on, that's all my degree is. All right, so right now this is Brother Gibbons. We want to introduce you to some of them. He's our new faculty advisor. I think Jordan knows him. Do you remember him, Eric? Or-
I've met him too.
Okay.
Maybe.
Eric, were you actually there the day he was being considered to be hired?
I was there that day.
Okay, so Brother
think.
Gibbons knows all of them.
Wow, it's really weird, Jordan, to see the boxes not stacked on top of each other, but actually on the ground. There's space around them.
Oh, those aren't the boxes.
Oh, those are new boxes.
Those are other things. I have a whole room that I could use as a server room now. What happens when you can afford a 3-bedroom townhome?
Ooh,
Nice.
wow. Jeez.
I'm excited for that day when I can afford a house for my family instead of my servers.
He tucks his server in at night. Do you need a glass of water?
All
I
right.
actually just got a new rack to put all my equipment in,
Oh.
but it won't be delivered until Tuesday, I think.
Oh, man.
At least his servers
Yeah.
well behaved. I still have to change my server's diapers.
Do your servers actually serve you?
Yeah, I do.
Servers up for adoption.
All
And
right.
with gigabit internet, you can access them remotely.
Ooh.
A lot better than optics.
Optics.
Hey, I made the best with it with my Wi-Fi aggregation stuff. I still have all those access points though. Not sure what I'm gonna do with all of them right
I
now.
still have 2 of those. Do you want them back?
Do you have 2 of mine?
Yeah. Remember we used it,
What do you?
we used it in the CSA one day, and we never took them home.
I wasn't even missing them. I literally have an entire box full of them.
So Eric, what are you doing now in Washington?
Hey, Hiram, where'd Patty go?
I think she's still at work, so she hopped on for a little bit and then she had to hop off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She said it was nice to see us, but we didn't really get to see her.
So Eric, what's your job now in Washington?
I work for the Sounders. No, I still work here at Boeing.
Oh, cool.
How is that?
Yeah, it's really fun. I like it.
What's your favorite part of that job? Did you get that because of the PRC CDC?
That definitely was a contributing factor,
Okay.
especially participation in CSA. They really like seeing community service.
Yeah. See, guys, what I've been telling you the whole time.
Pays off.
Where's your job?
Don't ask me questions like that. It's the beard. Having a beard. It's a crutch, really.
Whoa.
Jordan, could you grow a beard if you wanted to?
This is a few days without shaving. I don't remember when I last shaved. I need to do that tomorrow probably.
Jordan, where are you working at?
I'm down in Lehigh actually. So not too far away, surprisingly enough. I'm working for a document management company that does document management and compliance for legal and financial institutions.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm a security engineer. Yeah.
Nice.
So what is y'all's, so go back and forth, your day-to-day tasks, responsibilities, tools, what kind of things y'all doing, what skills would you recommend that we work on?
Splunk. We are a very Splunk-heavy company for sure. We have a very large license volume for Splunk. And that's because we use it for monitoring everything from our platform, in which we've got data centers around the world, or we use it in-house for security monitoring and other things. I spent most of my day-to-day probably working on enabling dark mode in a bunch of dashboards and modifying some of my inputs. It really depends on the day, you know. I'll generally come in, might browse over some firewall stuff, and then it's all varies from day to day. I could be doing anything from network access controls to working on a bajillion projects. So this company is interesting because we're actually in the starting stages of building out a security operations center, and I believe we're about to post a job opening here in the next, probably beginning of January. We've been approved to hire another person to do a lower level security, going through alerts and logging and whatnot. And we're going to slowly start building that up. So that's part of the reason why they brought me on, was because I have experience in building a security operations center.
Cool, what about you, Eric?
Sweet. Hey, Jordan, how big's your company? Sorry, just.
think right now, I want to say 500 to 700 employees. Maybe.
So definitely smaller. So that's really nice because you're able to have all that experience everywhere. You're able to have your finger everywhere.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing, you know, because it's a growing company. They've really started taking off in the last couple of years. We just started opening up into the corporate environment. We've been in the legal business for a long time, I suppose. But the potential for a customer base is huge. So we've got a lot of investors that are really wanting to see a lot of growth in the company. I think we've been hiring 3 to 5 people a week right now. Like, just talking to the desktop team, they're like, yeah, we just hired 3 more people this week and 5 more people that week. And they're constantly hiring people. It's pretty ridiculous, honestly, how many people we've added to our office space over the last couple of months since I've just been here. And then we also have an Australia office and I want to say a bunch of people over in the Ukraine. You know, we're a global company, that's for sure. But then having that smaller office feel, kind of, we get free lunch every Wednesdays and a very nicely stocked snack cupboard that I can just go help myself whenever I feel like it. So
That's
pretty
life.
great.
Don't pretend like you didn't do that in the Kimball already.
You had to pay for those ones though.
Oh yeah, they're like a nickel.
Yeah.
For a nickel, you can get yourself a bag of yum yums.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like on the flip side because I work for a much larger company.
What are they called again?
And so-
Boeing? I think it's Boeing.
The what?
I was just being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. No, it's so I don't get like as much responsibility in my position. I got more of a specific position in where I'm working at. So I work in like more consulting basis. My team, I'm on the server controls team, so we do basically anything on the IT side of the company. And because you know there's like the defense and actual like airplane side of Boeing, but my side is the IT enterprise portion of it. And so anything that deals with the servers kind of goes through us, where we have to consult and make sure that the security posture of the servers, and this includes ICS systems in the factories, are on par and everything. In my position specifically, I work with a lot of consulting tools and make sure that you know we're developing our in-house one that evaluates the security posture of all of the servers and databases and systems in the company, make sure that they're you know at par with policy.
What
And
policies do you
as
guys
well as the
follow?
project we're working on is consulting with what we call the labs. The labs are like basically what they sound like. They're the laboratories in our company that does experimentations for the aircrafts, for development and research portions of Boeing. And so my team, basically, we have to go through them and make sure that their networks are secure, that their endpoints are secure, so they don't, you know, start messing around with something and all of a sudden get malware and it spreads everywhere, right? And we get a lot of attention from the government, and so we get a lot of audits. And so our team, my team also is responsible of making sure that those environments are secure and will pass a security audit. If one were to walk in or we get audited next month, we get, you know, we have a good posture.
So is there any
Yeah,
sort
so
of
that's-
compliance standard that you get audited against?
There's a lot of them.
Well, yeah, sure. There's SOX, PCI, HIPAA, FEMA, but
FedRAMP.
That's,
right. But
Yeah.
do you know of any of those? Well, not those. It wouldn't be those, except maybe SOX. But do you know which compliance standard you have to follow?
so we take a look at a lot of them, you know, from ISOs, the FIPS or whatnot. We have our own in-house policy that as a Boeing company that we've made that
Oh.
kind of has, that falls under the audits. The auditors come in and say, okay, you gotta have these kind of, you know, procedures or check sets to make sure everything's, you know, secure. And so we've made our own called the CSSM, which is the Computer Security Standards Manual Management. I don't know, this. And so we have our own in-house one that we use.
Cool.
That's kind of, it's based off all the other ones.
That's really
ISO.
cool. Yeah, they're probably pulling a lot of concepts from other policies or maybe even SAM. But that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, go in there, it's like one policy is under like 8.2. Whatever, and it's like, make sure that there's no unneeded accounts. You know, basic security stuff, right? Or go in there and it says, make sure no one has, you know, alter any privilege in a database. So, you know, kind of like common sense, a lot of it's just common sense that we learn in our security classes.
Very cool. So, with what you're doing, Eric, is there a certification or a technology or a software that you would recommend? Like Jordan, I guess he recommended a lot of Splunk and maybe other, I don't know, tools. I don't know. Did you say anything else besides Splunk, Jordan?
What?
Did you bring up anything besides Splunk and just basic tools of building a SOC?
Kind of. I mean, there's a bunch of things that are good to know. So I work heavily with Palo Alto firewalls. We're actually swapping out. So in our data centers, most of our data centers, our primary and our secondary sites all use Cisco's right now, the Cisco ASAs. But we're in the process of swapping those out over the next 6 months to a year
With Palo Alto?
or two. We're swapping out the Palo Altos, and that's what we're currently using in-house at our primary office. So I've been working extensively with setting up policies, rules, and logging associated with that so that we can have a better handle on detecting threats.
Cool.
That's gotta be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I was messing with some Palo Alto logs today, and that can just be, oh man, so much to draw from, so many visualizations you can do, and it finds a lot of stuff. But Eric, what technologies would you maybe recommend for maybe a position at a bigger company like Boeing?
So in my position right now where I'm at is we deal with a lot more policy. We deal with a lot more of making sure that you know, kind of more like on paper it looks good. And so definitely getting familiar with like the different ISOs, getting familiar with depending what industry you go into. So like, you know, the FIPS, the government standards of actually be familiar with how to reference that. So it really does help. So when you're talking with someone, say, hey, your computer, you know, your network posture it's crap. You're missing this and this. I'm like, no, we don't need to do that. I'm like, well, actually,
The address is infected.
yeah, right, exactly. And so
So having
you
something
can
to look
reference
back to.
those NISTs and other different, you know, official standards out there that people can actually look at themselves and kind of help themselves. And but yeah, I would definitely get not used to, but get familiar with those different standards, NIST, ISO, and all those fun FIPS, all fun stuff.
See, I got lucky. I'm not a huge policy guy. I did memorize all the policy things and whatnot in school because I got a certification that required that. But in my company, we split up policy and compliance, or we split up the compliance section. So we've got our compliance guys, and then we've got our technical guys. And I'm very glad I'm not on the compliance team because that's like almost all they do is nonstop work with auditors and people because, you know, we run data centers and we manage contracts for companies from around the world. So, you know, then we just opened, we're currently standing up our Germany data center. So now we've got GDPR to worry about.
Yay.
All kinds of other fun things, you know? So that's just the nature of the job. But they take care of all the policy and the compliance stuff. And then they say, okay, in order to be compliant, we need this data and we need to be able to look at this and we need to be able to look at that. And I can just
Exactly,
get back
that's
to them and they can go do their thing. And I don't have to touch it. It's pretty great. I just have to make sure we don't get hacked.
Yeah, I had an interview today, and it was for a position that was purely compliance. And I was like, what tools do you use? Like, oh, it's not really a tools job. Oh, what technologies do you use? Oh, it's not really a technologies job. And I know it'd be a really good experience, but for me personally, I just want to work with tools.
So what about, what would you guys say were the, I guess, two different questions for each of you. What was the the thing that you feel like was that you're glad you did in college before you got a job, and what is something that looking back you're like, I wish I would have done a little bit more of this. Like, what are those two things? The things you think you did well, and maybe that the society did
You
well to
break it
help
up.
you.
Hiram, we can't understand what you're saying.
Okay,
You
sorry.
break it up, man.
I'm talking too fast. I'll get closer too. What are the two things, or I guess one thing on each side, but what is something you feel like you did good when you were in college that helped prepare you for a job, and what is something that you feel like you wish you had done better in college? And even if you want to specify that more towards something you learned in the CSA, or things that you wish the CSA would have done a little bit better to help you, something like that, that we can kind of help prepare us while we get ready to go into the workforce as well. Did you hear me that time?
More or less.
Did you get the gist of my question?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah. You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I think for me, the biggest thing I did good was that I had a home lab, you know. I was getting, it might have been cheap equipment, and half of it might have been outdated enough that it couldn't run anything newer than Server 2008 R2. But at the same time, I was gaining valuable experience by experimenting and just trying to figure out how can I do this and how can I do that. And that prepared me for a wealth of things, besides the fact that occasionally you'll get employers that'll be like, so what does your home lab look like? And if you go, well, let me tell you. And then another aspect of that is a lot of employers that I've found are looking to see if you're actively working on projects and pursuing things in your free time, especially at this stage of life. You know, I've got coworkers now who are like, you know, I'm getting old and tired and I don't want to go home and do IT stuff anymore, so they give me their equipment instead because they don't want to go home and do IT after doing IT all day. But at the start of your careers, it's a fantastic way because people ask you, what are you working on? And you can start going off on all sorts of views and things. And then another thing I found is that I'll go to work and I'll have a problem come up and I'll be like, I know exactly how to fix this because I ran into this problem in my home lab and it took me 5 hours to fix. So now I can go at work and get it done in 2 seconds. And my coworkers are like, you're amazing. Let me take you out to lunch. I'm like, yay, free lunch. So that was probably the best thing I did in college, honestly, was just playing around and experimenting.
Adding to that, today I had an interview and the guy was like, so do you have a home lab? And I was basically, he was like, well, let me tell you. I told him about it. And guess who I learned that from, Jordan? Freaking you, man. I went and saw your lab, went home, got on eBay and spent $300. And then went to Brother Lindstrom and got a bunch of networking equipment from him. And so some of this guy's like, yeah, I have a layer 3 firewall. Sorry, I have a layer 3 switch. I have 2 layer 2 switches. I have a Palo Alto. I have an ASA. It's all on top of Dell PowerEdge, and I hypervise this and that. I was like, okay, just shut up. You pass. That's literally what he said to me.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good thing to do.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I definitely would second that. It's definitely a good experience to have outside of the workplace because employers like to look for that, ambition here. Also, another thing that really, really helped me was working on as a team, like in the CSA, in these competitions. When you're working as a team with your coworkers, you develop those critical communication skills that you need in a workplace. Like now I work with 12 other people and we all have our different kind of expertise and we need to, collaborate with each other to get our own individual stuff done because we need to leverage each other's skills. And that's very important in the workplace, especially in the IT, because it's not about just, individual, but as a team, that's how we get it done. That's definitely what I learned. What to get better at? Do more coding. Coding always helps.
Yeah, I think I'm currently in the process of automating half the tasks I do on a daily basis. Because and coding's like really good if you know like low level C or maybe C# or something like that. Sure, that might be useful. But I find my most important skill is scripting. I've written Python scripts, PowerShell scripts, and half a dozen other things since I started this job because I'm like, I can write a script that'll do this in like 20 seconds and then I won't ever have to touch it again. And so I've been automating our alerting infrastructure. I've been automating just things left and right, and it has been so fantastic. My employers are really happy with it.
Yeah, second
Yeah.
that, that's exactly what I did. One of my first tasks was to automate, a bunch of stuff, so I wrote in some Python scripts.
Another thing something I think I wish I would have done more in college, and I didn't worry about it too much because I would worry about getting a job, but networking. There's a couple of companies that I wish I would have reached out to and been like, hey, I really like your company. I'm not looking for a job because I'm still in college, but would you be willing to give me some advice as to what I should pursue, do, learn? What technologies do you use? What kinds of things would you expect me to know? And maintain that relationship. Over the next couple of years while you're still going to college, hit them up every once in a while and be like, hey, so I'm faced with, maybe looking in more going this path or that path. You guys have some advice, and make them invest in you. And when they are invested in you as a person, when you go to them and go, hey, now I graduated, got a sweet degree, you guys got any job openings? They'll be like, oh, they know exactly what you know. They know exactly who you learned it from, and they're going to be super happy with you. So if you want great jobs in the industry, do that.
Nice. I hadn't thought of that before. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's something for me. I know I'm a huge advocate for mentoring and being mentored, which is right along that lines. And that's what Jordan's saying, just reach out to companies and see if they'll kind of give you some low-key mentoring. But I mean, that's all of the jobs that I'm considering when I graduate are because I know people who have been kind of guiding me and helping me in the last couple of years. And so I already kind of have a foot in the door with them. And it's not because I was like, hey, I'm doing this because I know I'm going to work for you. It's like, hey, you guys know something that I don't. Like, tell me what I should do. What should my next step be? Oh, I ran into this problem. How can you help me out? So, getting people to mentor you and even helping mentor other people. I'm excited for one day when I'll actually know enough that I can mentor somebody else. I feel like the cybersecurity community has been pretty good at working with kind of building each other up and helping each other.
Hey Jordan, where can I get more RAM for my server?
Check out his website.
I don't actually sell stuff on there, unless you need consulting. In which case, fill out the contact form. I'm actually about to rebuild my entire website from the ground up right now because they changed my pricing plans. But anyways, eBay is generally a good place. Surplus sales are good. So if you get on Public Plus or there's a government surplus liquidations website, I don't know, somewhere that covers a large portion of the U.S. So search around Idaho, see what people are getting rid of. Use the BYUI surplus store when that happens occasionally. Go down to Idaho Falls or Pocatello, make a trip out of it. Go visit those universities down there, see what kinds of surplus they got. A lot of times, large companies will often surplus stuff privately. So if you can watch, I almost said KSL, that's not really prevalent up there. Craigslist and other places for postings like that. Sometimes you'll be able to get good deals on there. So Melaleuca might go through and liquidate a bunch of servers, or I know there was actually I don't remember the brand actually, but there was a large firewall company that had a branch office in Idaho Falls that when they closed down, they were literally just giving stuff away for free. So get to know people in the area, get to know who has equipment, and eventually people will just be like, oh, I heard you're looking for equipment. Here's some stuff.
Nice. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right, we're wrapping it up here. And do you guys have any other questions for them? No? What about Jordan, Eric, do you have any questions for us? We wanted to show off how big our group was, but since there's an escape room in the MC, there's 10 of us. But we've been closer to about 20, 25 the last couple of weeks, doing some fun
Oh, wow,
nice
That's
things.
still pretty good.
Yeah. We've been working, this semester we've been doing 2 different projects, working with some keystroke injectors built out of Arduino for kind of to kind of teach people about that. And then also, I don't know if any of you guys remember Ryan Taylor, but he's teaching how to use Microtake routers. And he's done a couple different sessions on different things you can do with those little routers. So.
Microtake actually makes some of the cheapest 10 gigabit access points, routers, switches, etc. that you can get on the market right now. And they're high quality too. And you can either leave them with their stock router board firmware, which is really, really complex. And if you could literally get a job as a Microtake engineer at a large infrastructure provider because they're that prevalent and complex. Or you could flash it with your own Linux stuff on it if you wanted to. So yeah, Microtake's great stuff.
Good to know.
You guys have any other questions for us before we let you go?
My dad says hi, Jordan.
Oh. Yeah, I'm sure he's dying to call me again.
Yeah, my dad, or Jordan helped my dad with some code.
I'm actually still helping with them, so it's actually a really cool project. So it went from let's write some code to revamp some old code, so that way we can analyze the code existing on some airplane processors for the Air Force, and it's kind of gone from there to would you do a security code overview and review of the code running on these airplanes and their processors. So it was kind of interesting because I kind of have a little bit of an industrial computing background with working with the government and national labs in terms of doing industrial systems. And so, I was kind of like, hey, so how are we interacting with this and what kind of forms of communication does it have and what does it talk to and who talks to it and who has access to those systems? And it's kind of an interesting to be able to go, okay, take what you know about cybersecurity in one realm and what about your toaster? How do you hack a toaster? How is it accessible? How do you look at it? How does the user interface with it? What kind of protocols is it using? You're taking it to a whole different. You're taking those same principles and you're applying them to a separate set of things. So it's kind of fun to be able to do that sometimes. Give you a new perspective.
Hack a toaster. Awesome.
Well, thank you guys for hopping on and talking with us. We're having some root beer floats in your honor, so just wanted you to know.
Oh, that sounds nice. Let's go crack some chocolate then.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. Keep in contact.
Yeah, if you haven't come any jobs over here in Boeing.
Yeah,
Yeah, hook us up.
definitely. All right.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Thanks, Jordan.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
That was fun. Thanks for setting that up.
Any questions from you guys for us now? Do we have anything else for tonight?
CyberForce needs to.
Yes.
And do you have Slack on there?
I do.
Can you pull that up?
Yes.
So Danny had to leave. He was the lead for NCL. He just told me, he directed me to some screenshots and stuff that he posted on Slack, just so you can see what they did.
NCL?
Yeah, in the NCL channel. So to recap, NCL is a totally online competition. Happens, I think, once a semester. It's like 2 or 3 times a year. And it's an awesome way to get started in competitions. It costs like $35, but totally worth it for the experience that you gain and everything that you learn. I did it earlier this year. It was awesome. I would have done it this year if I wasn't already involved in CyberForce, because that was pretty intense, and they happened on the same weekend.
So
So
we're still able to, until they do it 4 times a week?
is it 4 times?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a few times a year.
I think it might be 3,
Yeah,
every
it's
4 months or so.
It's
Yeah, right.
So this is their final scoreboard of how they did.
I gotta squeeze in some more hours into work, so it's a bit.
All right.
See.
See you, Spencer. Anyway. So it looks like they finished 321st place out of 781.
Ooh, top half.
Yep, not bad, not bad. So you're rated on accuracy as well as completion in NCL. So if you get the answer right the first time, you're 100% accuracy, and that plays into your score, your overall score of how well you did get someone here who can tell us a little bit more about how it went. But anyway, great experience. I definitely recommend doing it if you haven't. We'll go on to CyberForce. I posted some pictures up here. So here's our team.
So much pink.
Yes, it's a lot of pink this year. They had us take pictures of ourselves. They said they were gonna have us, that they were gonna like make trading cards of each of us, each of the. Yeah, we never actually got those, but we did get a team thing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, they took, I think it's funny how they took information from each of our individual requests for individual trading cards. And
Yeah,
individual
someone submitted that, someone submitted that, someone submitted that, and we just kind of, this is the group. But whatever. Anyway, go to the next picture. So this was our industrial control system we were protecting. So I guess let me back up a little bit. Caden, you can come up here. You were
Yeah, I
part
gotta do
of this.
something.
So the way that CyberForce works is they give you access to a competition environment 3 weeks about in advance, and then you have to secure the environment. So we've got a Ubuntu machine, Debian machine, a CentOS machine, a Windows 2012 server, and a Raspberry Pi, which is right here, as well as another Linux machine that helped us interface with the Pi. And so ultimately our goal was to secure our systems and protect our industrial control system. The CyberForce is very focused on defending industrial control systems. So there were 4 different ones this year. There's a power grid, like a manufacturing plant, a solar facility, and
Yeah, it was really cool because it represented the chain of energy, right? So there was a solar power production plant, there was a power substation, which was what that is right there, that's WeWork. There was a high computing plant, and then there's a manufacturing facility. And then I think all 4 somehow played into each other. At least they were supposed to. I don't know. We didn't really see a lot of
that
that.
part was really confusing. They didn't explain it. It just kind of happened, I guess. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we got access to our environment and started having our weekly meetings to secure stuff. We also used PRTG, and that was a huge help for us. Ryan helped us set it up, and Andrew was the one in charge of that. Gave us a lot of visibility into our network. One thing that I think that we did really well is our focus on this, for this competition was thinking like the adversary. It's because if we're not thinking like they are, we're not looking for the things they're looking for, and we're not going to have the same level of visibility. So Caden and Chris were our 2 penetration testers who did vulnerability scanning using Nessus and Nmap.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. So Nessus is pretty cool. It's a vulnerability scanner, so you know, for all those who don't know what it is, it scans for vulnerabilities. So what's pretty cool about it, is that it doesn't just kind of like check to see if it's open. It runs like proof of concept code. So like there were times that like the Windows 2012 server was down and we were freaking out because Nessus got a shell. And if Nessus got a shell, I mean then we were freaking out because he got to like a C prompt from Netcat. So
I was able to type in a command on my machine and log into the Windows box, and that was a pre-seeded vulnerability that we would have never found if we weren't using something like Nessus to look for stuff like this.
yeah, and then we had a bunch of custom Nmap. Chris got really into Nmap, a lot more than I did, but he's using a lot of custom Nmap scripts that he found to where it was like a mini Nessus kind of. So it would test the ports and it would cross-check that with just about every CV there was, and let you know any possible CV that could be attached to that port and that service running on it from what it can identify. So you cross-correlate that with Nessus, and then you got a pretty good idea what's running on there. Outside of that, that was basically the main 2 tools that we used. I think we did a couple other scanning tools in the initial phases of it. The one, I can't remember the name of them, but
Mox something.
oh yeah, there was Automox for automated patching. That was pretty cool. We ended up not using it as much because if we had like a ton of machines, that would have been very helpful. But since we only had like 5 or like 9 at the most, it was cool. But yeah, that was cool. Then we just tried playing around with like a lot of other just different little tools and toys to figure out what would work. You know, we're not going to mention Sophos.
It didn't work so well.
They didn't give us socks either.
Yeah. So yeah, using Nessus, we found maybe 30 or more vulnerabilities on our machines. And some of those were fixed just with software updates, but some of them we had to go in and specifically make configuration changes, close ports, stuff like that,
Yeah.
to lock it down.
One thing we could have done better was getting SSL going, or getting some type of like certificates. I feel like that would have helped a lot. And then kind of securing the DNS so we don't get rickrolled again.
Yeah.
That was fun. We the red team broke into our DNS server and redirected everything to Never Gonna Give You Up. And so our users are like, "Hey, what is this? We're trying to do work," and then they get rickrolled.
Yeah, we had several services that we had to keep up. DNS was one of them. We also had POP3 email, IMAP email, FTP, SSH.
SMTP. I think that was basically it.
Yeah, it was like 7 to 9 services that have to keep up. And then every 5 minutes, there's an automated scoring engine that checks to see if those services are up. And if they are, you get points. If they're not, you don't. Whoever gets the most points at the end wins. We did pretty good on our services. We got like 1,700 out of 2,000, I think.
We
towards
did.
the end.
I think the worst thing that we had problems with were the anomalies or these cryptological challenges that, you know, like while you're watching Red Team try to break into your network, they're like, "Hey, solve a Jefferson cipher." And stuff like that. So just really crazy challenges, and then one of them apparently broke your machine if you tried it. So that's fun. Which I'm actually gonna pull a little bit more. See it.
And try it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, we learned a lot. I mean, there was a ton that we learned. Like, I went into it not really knowing how SSH worked. Now I'm like,
It was like one of the core tools of the competition.
yeah, I know. And then like at the end of it, I'm like, I have like keys set up for everything, which like saved our bacon a few times because they locked us out from passwords. But I was like the only one that had like key-based authentication, and I had like bash aliases set up. So I'm like, all right, 3 characters, I'm in. And then they kept logging me out. I'm like, ha ha ha. It was pretty cool. But yeah, so I learned a lot about just how everything works. And especially there's like a lot more that goes into, I mean, we couldn't have done it without a team though. Like that,
Oh yeah.
yeah, if we didn't have a team, like it could not have happened. It was like, part of it was like a dev project, a little bit, part of it was
Which one?
CyberForce,
Part of it with a tech project?
dev, kind of,
Oh.
because you had to like get your website stuff up and running, like, you had to get your email server running, which, thank goodness for Chris.
Yeah. Chris was a lifesaver on email.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna start rambling, so I'm gonna not stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome experience. Definitely very time intensive. The last 3 days getting ready, we spent like up to 6 hours a day. We did 6 o'clock until midnight. We were at the one of the rooms over at the lodge where Caden's at, just working, getting stuff secured, set up, figured out. A lot of work. Definitely worth it though. This was our table at the competition. I think we had 5 external monitors. I brought my 32-inch TV, Andrew brought his 32-inch TV, Caden and Russ both brought external monitors, and then we were provided with one. So we had 6 laptops and 5 fairly large screens on the same table. And then, of course, we got to meet our red team right there. I forget what his name was. David?
I don't know, he's got his badge turned
I wrote
around.
it down somewhere. But so that was there were actually 2 of them. The other one went missing. But we got to talk to him afterwards, and one of the things that he told us that we could have done is there were some pre-seeded like vulnerabilities and time bombs and stuff that they added in there that we were supposed to find. And so a tool that he recommended using is Tripwire, and what you can do with that is it'll create a hash. It'll hash every single file on the operating system. And then, so like say we've got our Ubuntu machine, then we create a fresh install of Ubuntu, run it against that to get a hash of every file, compare the two using Tripwire to see which ones are different, and then you go and find out why. And if you find out that the change password utility has a backdoor in it that lets a certain user in all the time, that's a bad thing. Then you can fix it and replace it with the correct file, and then you're good to go. That would have saved us with a few things. Also, one thing that he mentioned is I think the nobody user had a weak password on it. We hadn't checked to see if there were extraneous users on all of the systems. And we were able to get in with that. And also, I think the nobody user or someone was part of the wheel group, which is like the pseudo group, basically. And we missed that, so they were able to log in with the user with the easy password, have root access, and then from there they backdoored everything within like minutes, and it was kind of game over for 2 of the machines after that. Overall, we did pretty good though. Out of this like 7 machines, only 3 of them got compromised. Yeah, if we had been better at the anomalies, the special tasks that we're supposed to do, we would have done significantly better. As it was, we finished 63rd, I think, out of 104 teams. So, not bad, could have done better. But, yeah. Any questions about CyberForce?
What it might even be more helpful to do this small team with team meeting, but I'm curious, what things did you guys do in CyberForce that you think would be good to implement in even a one-day-long competition? Because I mean, a lot of those tools, they sound super cool, but I'm wondering, is that something we could like actually implement within like an hour or 2 in this 8-hour long competition?
Sure.
And which ones are cool that might be good to learn, but won't really help us? Like, which ones did you think, hey, this would be good, and then you realize, hey, this is a lot of time. That would definitely be much too much time for a one-day competition for us.
That would be me.
Yes.
So I was stuck on Sophos for a long time.
Okay.
All their stuff, because it's like next-gen firewall, super cool stuff. And Russ was gonna get us socks, and then that never happened. But turns out, everything just died. Like I would get alerts, like probably like 3 times a day, that for no reason before the competition, like real-time scanning is turned off, and it would just die. And then everything relied on this like next-gen firewall, but they didn't really tell you that. You just kind of like figured it out, because it's like, oh yeah, this is what the firewall does. This is what the firewall does. It does all this really cool stuff. But then I couldn't get that set up, mainly because Azure is terrible when you're trying to import stuff.
What was the name of the center guy?
But yeah, there was just a lot of stuff with Sophos. So if someone's smart and they wants to try it, I mean, I go right ahead. But it's stuff that's good though. Nessus, it will save your bacon. Nmap, I mean, that is also just, you need to learn that. It's going to be like one of your best friends. Let's see. POTG is pretty good. I don't know about setting it up though. I didn't really have a lot to do in that.
Is Nessus and Nmap, well, Nmap of course shouldn't be, I mean, as long as you know how to use it, it shouldn't take up too much time. Is Nessus kind of the same thing, where as long as you know how to use it, you can do it quickly?
I didn't know how to use it, and I could do it quickly. Like the longest part that it takes is it will take, depending on your machine, right? Because mine is, I got a piece of garbage. But if you have like something nice, it'll take you faster. But it has to compile the plugins when you install it. That takes a hot minute. It took me probably about 30 minutes to an hour each time, because I broke it a few times.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of stuff going on with that. Nessus agents are cool. Turns out you can't use it with the standard Nessus, so don't try that. That's something I spent too much time on. But yeah, but Nessus is really, really helpful, especially if you have like just a couple hours. 10 minutes you have your entire network scanned. It'll scan a report, see if there's a CVE for it, let you know, and then let you know a possible solution for that. And so I think that's really, really helpful.
For sure. One tool that I got installed and it took forever to figure out. So the first day was all set up. It took me maybe 4 hours to figure this out. But so we needed to have some kind of intrusion detection still, and we set up OSEC, which worked, but there's room for improvement on that. OSEC is an internal vulnerability, or it's not really a vulnerability scanner, it's an intrusion detection system. So it watches all of the logs, and then if it sees something like the password of the root user changed, it creates an alert. So the way it works is there's an agent that you have to install on each of the endpoints, the one machine that acts as a server. And so then the server will host a web page where you can go to view all of the events that have happened. And that definitely provided visibility into what Red Team was doing. The web interface isn't super helpful though, so it would have been more beneficial to set it up with like Splunk or Elasticstack or something, so you've got some more flexibility and filtering and stuff like that. One thing that I think would be very beneficial for us is if we spent time preparing some scripts that do some of this stuff for us, like that'll go and install OSEC. Because after the first 2 or 3 machines I had it installed, by that time I had it automated, and then it took like 4 minutes to install OSEC on a machine. So preparing scripts to do stuff for you before you get there would be really beneficial. I think it'd be cool if the society had like a GitHub page or something, where we could have scripts for certain things, then we can just pull them down during competitions and
Yeah.
I
I
heard
think from some competitions, it has to be out there for at least 6 months in advance. But I mean, if we make a public one that's there forever, and anyone on the internet can go look at our scripts, then
exactly we can use
in
it.
a year or 2, we can use whatever we want off of it, so.
And I heard, I think maybe it was at NIATEC, I think Ryan told me that University of Florida or something like that had a bunch of pre-written scripts. They just downloaded and ran within like 30 minutes. They were totally done with the hardening of their system because it was all pre-meditated and automated. And yeah.
Yeah, that's something I actually enjoy is scripting. Granted, like when it's the day of, I don't know how it's hard to kind of balance in there. I only have 8 hours to do anything. Should I spend 2 hours automating a script, or should I just do everything by hand and
Right.
just go through it quicker?
Yeah.
So, but I think it would be great to do something like that where we have a GitHub and we can just pull down the scripts, because it's too much time to write the script and try to remember everything you wrote in the previous script even. Like, unless the script's a really short script, it takes too long to try to rewrite an entire script for doing some things.
Yeah.
So if we had some pre-made scripts like that, it would be great.
Yep.
Some brief documentation on what operating systems it works on and how to use it. Yeah.
Another tool that I use that takes a long time to learn but is easy to implement once you get there is Zabbix.
Is that it?
It's a network monitoring tool. It'll monitor hosts and services, whether they're up or down. So if your web server goes down, you know within just a minute or 2, instead of waiting for someone else to tell you, hey, your web server's down. So it provides good visibility. It's not as fast as PRTG, but it provides a very clean interface that's easy to work with dashboard, which takes a little bit of time to learn about it beforehand, so you get it set up for what you want. Yeah, I think that's everything that I had on that.
Alright. I think we're good. Questions, anyone? No? Sounds like we're good.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully we'll see some more faces next week.